We didn't hold them to account at election time. They skirted through the election, and now we have Mark Carney spending money at a pace that outclips Justin Trudeau. Remember
Mhm.
Christopher Freeland? Christopher Freeland said, right, I'm not going to present Justin Trudeau's budget because it's such a disaster and I'll never be able to defend it. Well, guess what we have now? We have an arguably worse budget that was just passed. It is ridiculous. Listen, I would love nothing more for Christmas than a conservative majority government. So that
True.
whole argument doesn't work for me. Like, listen, we pay these guys, we elect these guys to do hard work. And so being like, it's around Christmas, it'd be real hard for them. You know what? You're paid to do hard work. And what I see here is just an abdication of your duty to
Mhm.
represent all Canadians.
Yeah. Well, I'm over here waiting for whenever the budget will actually balance itself, which is a promise Justin Trudeau made to us. But yeah, so I wanted to lean on the actual verbiage of Carney in the budget delivery, where he called this $78 billion deficit generational investment. You see,
Oh,
they just flip the words, and it's a very Orwellian tactic. And it should actually be referred to as generational debt because
sure.
these
That's
investments,
what it is.
it's like and it's primarily being done in these green pipe dreams that we continually see are faltering in the free market. Like people don't want these green vehicles and these electric
No,
vehicles,
they do not.
so the government has to keep propping them up and subsidizing and tax breaking and giving all these handouts to these technologies that no one actually wants to spend their money on because they're unreliable and unpredictable. And so anyway, this budget just passed, and it is a wild time to be Canadian. But we have this post here on X from Carney where he says, "Tonight, the House of Commons has voted to pass Budget 2025." And I just want to keep reiterating, like, narrowly, narrowly
Like
passed.
skinny your
Um,
teeth past. Yeah, you couldn't
yeah,
get it closer than this.
yeah. It's time to work together to deliver on this plan to protect our communities, empower Canadians with new opportunities, and build Canada strong. And as I mentioned in a report I did, I don't know, about a week or two when the budget first dropped, which was months overdue, by the way. The budget's
Mhm.
supposed to be tabled in the spring, and Carney held on to this for months and then jet set over the summer holiday instead of getting down to work, with a government who's sat or been off or been prorogued more than it has actually been working at the House of Commons and in
Mhm.
Parliament for the better part of the last year plus.
Mhm.
But anyway, I called this not Build Canada Strong, but Build Canada Broke, because nothing in there is going to get us back on track economically. And remember, Mark Carney was supposed to be like the economic savior. He's this big
Oh,
banker, and everyone was like, "We
oh,
this is who we need."
he's so clever. Look at these big bad jobs that he's had forever. He's just he is the most brilliant economist that's ever
Yeah.
looked the earth like a Neanderthal. And then look what we got, Canada. Look what we got. Former Prime Minister of Britain tried to warn us about this. Liz Truss said, Mark Carney did a terrible job at the Bank of England. Canada, do not hire him as your prime minister. And look what then the elbows up came in, and we were gonna get this real smart guy. And what he's doing is hoodwinking the entire country to pay for the projects that benefit Brookfield and his liberal insiders. So we're going into where our grandkids and great grandkids are going into debt to profit the people of Brookfield and their close associates who are all related to the liberal government. When we were talking about funding these crazy green schemes and these, crazy eco initiatives that nobody is asking for. Well, you know who's asking for them is their friends. Tamara, that's who's that's who's saying, we went to a climate conference and we invested in this company. Now the government of Canada should invest in it too. I
Mhm.
mean, it's ridiculous. The corruption is absolutely off the hook. How this is being allowed to happen is anybody's guess. But Canada, we're in deep, deep trouble.
Yeah, it's the Brookfield Bros who are set to benefit the most from this budget and
Mhm.
the government dedicating our tax dollars to these supposed investments and generational investments that are just double speak for more debt and more destruction in this country. I
Yeah.
mean, Pierre Poilievre, leader of the opposition, called it for what it was late last night after the budget passed. And he said Mark Carney's budget will drive up the cost of living on every Canadian, on food, on homes, and on everything else Canadians buy. And that's like, you don't see that. Well, I think more Canadians are now starting to recognize and realize that passed down debt that comes to the consumer because of those taxes and the carbon
Sure.
taxes and all of these things that the Liberals have put into place and legislated, slowly making its way down the consumption pike to the average Canadian. But he says Conservatives demanded an affordable budget for an affordable life on behalf of the Canadians that Liberals have priced out of food, homes, and life. Conservatives voted no tonight on this costly credit card budget. Yeah, that
Yeah.
gambles away Canada's future. Yeah, and I should note that it only narrowly passed with the support of the Bloc Québécois, the NDP, and then, of course, the lone soldier from the Green Party,
Oh,
Elizabeth
Elizabeth
May.
May, just the worst. She's a menace to society. Like, how was she allowed to be an MP? If psychological tests were required, okay, to be an MP, Elizabeth May would be the first one sent packing. But no, this budget, Marty up north on X distilled it really well. He said this budget is 7 months late, $70 billion deficit, 60 billion in interest payments alone, debt nearing $3 trillion. Debt to GDP ratio is the worst in the industrialized world. Shady accounting practices, and this is something that we have to get into maybe a little later. Moving the goalposts and no fiscal anchors. None of the opposition parties got what they wanted, but several of their MPs chose to side with the Liberals. A few MPs were noticeably absent. They could have voted remotely. And then he finishes up by saying, it's a good day for Alberta independence. And I'd like to just add Saskatchewan to that too. So
Free the West.
free the West.
I thought Roman Baber also had a good takeaway
Mm.
here, and then he was retweeted or reposted. Let's share his remarks first, and then we'll show who he was requote posted by. I don't
Mm.
even know what that's called on X anymore.
A quote tweet, a quote post,
Quote post,
quote
yeah.
tweet used to be quote tweet, but yeah, okay.
Budget 2025-2026 passes. Roman Baber, Conservative Member of Parliament. 2 NDP abstentions means Carney's budget is passing with $78 billion in deficits, $5,400 per family. Almost 500,000 people are getting immigration amnesty. That's either asylum seekers or refugee claimants are getting amnesty under this budget. $1 trillion green scam that's going to benefit Carney's cronies. Tough day here on Parliament Hill, but our Conservative team and our leader, Pierre Poilievre, we're going to keep fighting for our country. We're going to come back from this. Thank you.
Yeah, and then
I,
the
I'm happy
asylum
one person is
seekers.
optimistic. Yeah.
The asylum seekers stuff is absolutely insane. I was pulling up the most recent stats and data on that
Mm.
one. I don't know if we'll have time to get into it all, and it's probably just worth its own separate report. But I wanted to note the retweet by former health minister Mark Miller. And I think he was at a brief period also the immigration minister. Maybe I'm wrong on that, so don't quote me.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he
Very,
was.
very briefly, yeah, he
Mhm.
was the also the immigration minister. He says complete horseshit. Like, have a little bit of decorum first of all. You know, I'm not about like policing people's language, but I mean, I don't know. I just think that you could find better words to use. That the budget offers amnesty for 500,000 asylum seekers. This guy is just making it up. I mean, he's
That's
getting into the nitty gritty of semantics, I think, because there's asylum seekers, there's refugee claimants, there's temporary foreign workers, there's international students, and then there's permanent residents. Like, those are 5 different categories, all kind of all under the umbrella of immigration. And 500,000 is actually a very low number. It's more than that when you include all of those 5 different definitions under
yes.
that broader umbrella.
Yes.
And so he's getting caught up on the semantics that Roman Baber in a 40-second, off the cusp clip, when the numbers are staggering. The amount of that we pay into our immigration, refugees and citizenship Canada bureaucracy is astronomical and has grown exponentially since 2021 and 2022. Like, I'm talking 2-3-fold higher, both in people we're letting in and in budgetary allowances since that time. Like, And there's nowhere for these people to go. We don't have the infrastructure. We didn't plan appropriately for any of this influx. And so it's like, yeah, that needs to be called out, and getting hung up on that semantics of asylum seekers is just absolutely asinine, in my opinion.
Oh,
Um,
he uses that number. He's like, I'm gonna throw at this number and use it as a cudgel to destroy whatever he just had to say. Listen, 500,000 is 500,000 people too many, Mark
yeah.
Miller. Okay, 500,000 people too many. We're full. Not sure if you've noticed, but we're right full in Canada. Okay, that's 500,000 people too many.
Well, and 500,000, it's not even far off. I just put a link in the bottom of our chat there.
Mm,
This comes from the Immigration and Refugee Board of Canada. So these are official government stats, and it's just one
okay.
stat that I'll throw to you. It's claims by country of alleged persecution 2025, and it's actually only half of the year. It's from January to June 2025. And pending as of June 30th, there was 287, almost 288,000 claimants. And that's just for the refugee program. So, yeah, that number is actually on par for how many
Oh.
claimants we are set to receive just in refugee claimants by the end
Look
of
at
this year.
this. And far be it for me to suggest that Afghanistan and Algeria are culturally non-compatible with Western culture, but they're
Oh,
not. And this is where the vast majority of these claimants will be coming from, is from cultures that don't align with Western culture, don't have different societal expectations, and are going to serve to destroy what we know and love about Canada and
the
our
one
Canadian culture, our uniquely Canadian culture.
100%. And I want to note here, as I'm scrolling through this list, India is one of the largest refugee claimants countries, 9,947 of them. And then I believe, as I'm scrolling through it, Mexico was the next runner up. There's thousands from Haiti. I mean, this data, it speaks for itself, and you can see. And I
What?
wanted to go back and compare it to previous years, because we know that a lot of these refugee claimants are increasingly fraudulent, and they're just learning that, hey, I can get a free pass into
Get a
Canada.
loophole, that's
uh,
right.
I can get these
Exploiting our
loopholes.
loopholes. Yep.
They can also get health benefits through the refugee program specifically. And so there's all these perks if you come in as a refugee, because you get to then take advantage of Canada's social safety nets, our healthcare, our housing, all of these things that were put in place for people in need. And I'm not saying that there aren't legitimate refugee claims, and we have that program in place for a reason, but it has been very clearly exploited in recent years,
Mhm.
and that is only continuing to grow and proliferate. And so when you say, hey, 500,000 asylum seekers, yeah, that's how many we're on track to get just this
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
That is astronomical.